Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back to talk movies once again with the Movie Life. We're going to talk about all the movies and series that I watched in the month of March 2024. To keep you up to date on everything that I'm watching, and of course, we continue the conversation down in the comments below with what you've been watching as well. Now, March was a big month, a real big month for movies because there was a big blockbuster releasing every weekend this month, which is really exciting. And if you've been watching my recent reviews on the channel, you know that I recently started working at a movie theater. So I now get to see most of these movies for free in theaters, which is awesome. And so because of that, I get to see much more movies as soon as they come out, which means I get to do more reviews on them on this channel, which hopefully you've been seeing, hopefully you've been watching, hopefully you've been enjoying. And yeah, it's been really, really interesting to me because up until recently, I never really went to the theater a whole lot. It was only for like really big special movies, because of both money and also just like having a way to go to the theater. But now that I have my license, I'm in college, I have my car, I have a job, I work at the theater, it works out for me to not only see the movies for free, but after I get done with a shift to just go watch a movie since I'm already there. So that has been really exciting and something that I think will hopefully pave the way for the future of this channel because it's benefiting it hugely. With giving me more content to produce, which I think is awesome. So hopefully, again, you guys are checking out those reviews. I'd really appreciate that. But one thing I do want to point out is, of course, last month I did not do a February video of what I watched in February. Gonna be completely honest, that's just because I completely forgot. Because the way I remember to do this video at the end of every month is I have it set on my calendar, on my digital calendar to remind me on the 30th day of every month. And I forgot about that. There's only, it's leap year, so we got an extra day, but still, there was only 29 days in February, so I never got that reminder, so I just completely forgot. Now, I will say, with February, though, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, I did watch a lot of stuff, but nothing super notable that really I feel we need to talk about here on the channel. Especially when it comes to theaters, I don't think I saw any movies in theaters in February. I was going to see Madam Web, but then ultimately decided not to. And I didn't start working at the movie theater until March 1st or March 2nd. So I didn't get to see anything in February. There are some movies here that I still want to see. I'll check out Madam Web at some point. I'd like to see Bob Marley, One Love. There's some stuff from February that I'd like to watch. But when it comes to like past films that I watched in February, just quick shout out to Good Will Hunting, one of my favorite movies of all time. I rewatched that for the second time. And also major shout out to Cooper Raiff. Love this guy. I watched both of his films in February, and they are now two of my favorite movies of all time. His storytelling is so relatable, especially his first movie, Shithouse, because it's about a freshman in college, and that's what I am. So it was just super relatable. Love this guy. I mean, as soon as I found out about him, and like I went down a whole rabbit hole of doing research into him, his story, how he got to Hollywood. Really awesome guy. So shout out to him. I highly recommend checking out both his movies, Shithouse and Cha Cha Real Smooth. But let's talk about March. So what did I watch in March? Starting off with series, I did check out Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. This is streaming on Max. And this was all over my TikTok, so I decided I'd finally check it out. But this, if you don't know, it's a behind-the-scenes documentary type show, which basically chronicles the abuse of being a child actor on some of these famous kids shows. I think the majority of this focuses on Nickelodeon. And it's really interesting. Like I said, I was seeing it all over TikTok, all the Drake Bell stuff, which just really tugged at my heartstrings. I never really watched Drake and Josh a whole lot because that was kind of before I was... Yeah, I think it was before I was born, or at least before I was watching TV. But I still know Drake Bell, and still to hear that these things happen to him are just absolutely horrendous and terrifying, and all these other stories, and just to hear about the people that were working at Nickelodeon and the things that they got away with are just insane. I didn't end up watching the whole thing. I think I only watched the last two episodes because really what I cared about was the Drake Bell stuff, but really just interesting and intriguing stuff, and again just horrifying that this is all real. I did watch X-Men, the animated series. I had to do a rewatch on that before X-Men 97. I only watched about the first season and I think half of the second season, just because of timing. Didn't have enough time to watch all of it before X-Men 97, but then X-Men 97 came out. We are 3 episodes in. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm loving it. You can check out my review for the first 2 episodes on my other channel, The Marvel Life, so go check that out. Invincible Season 2 is back, and it was in a weird spot because it released in 2 parts. Part 1 came out in November, and I think I remember, yeah, I watched the first episode of part 2 when it came out in November, but then I decided to just wait. So right before part 2 came out in March, I got caught up on part 1, absolutely loved it, and season 2, as it continues with part 2, is just so good. This is some of the best superhero content. Actually, no, I think this is the best superhero content we have on TV right now. It's absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait to see what goes down in the season finale this week. Now, also another show I've been keeping up with is Resident Alien. Love this show on Sci-Fi, season 3. So that's continued to be great. I'm still a little bit behind, but I'm trying to get caught up here. Then into movies. We started off the month strong with Dune. My first time watching the movie. I'm going to be honest, I didn't love this film. It felt very slow. It felt very long, a bit boring at times. But the way I tell people, and especially because, I work at a movie theater, so I'm talking about Dune Part 2, and everybody's like, oh, I didn't see the first one, or oh, I tried to watch the first one, I couldn't get through it. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really care for it either, but it's very much a part 1. Part 2 is where we get into the good stuff. Part 2 is my favorite movie of this year so far, and like I said, you could check out my review for it on the channel. I have both a non-spoiler review and a spoiler review as well, so check out both of them if you've seen the movie. Just an absolutely fantastic film. Just so good. That is not that. Now I am in a history of international cinema film class, right now. So there's some films on here that I watched that we watched in there, including Bless Their Little Hearts, which was pretty good. Kung Fu Panda. I rewatched the first movie, rewatched the second movie. Didn't have time to rewatch the third one, but I did watch the fourth one in theaters. You can also check out my review for that on the channel as well. Corpo Celeste was another film I watched in that class. Love Actually. Now, I know what you're thinking. Love Actually, isn't that a Christmas movie? Why did you watch that in March? Well, I had never seen this movie before. And I was talking to some of my friends, and they were talking about this movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd never seen it. And they're like, oh, you have to watch it. And so I was bored one night, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch Love Actually. So I did, and I loved it. And it put me in the Christmas spirit, and it felt amazing. Blue Beetle, I rewatched this along with also Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I watched them with my dad because he hadn't seen them yet, so now that they're on Max, I was able to check them out with him. Now, Grease, this was an interesting one. There was a movie theater near me, not the one that I work at, but a different one that was playing Grease for one night only. So I love Grease, so to be able to see it on the big screen was awesome, and I got to bring 2 friends with me who had never seen Grease at all. So that was great to share that experience with them. Love Lies Bleeding, my second favorite movie of the year so far, which also you can check out my review for, but it's so good. I loved it. I rewatched Shrek as well as Shrek the Musical, which gets a lot of hate, but I love Shrek the Musical. It's definitely one of my favorite musicals. I might be a little biased because I was once in Shrek the Musical, but hey, I highly recommend it. Ghostbusters Afterlife, did a rewatch on this before I watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in theaters, which also you can check out my review for on the channel. Lola was another film that we watched in that class. Hairspray Live. This was my first time experiencing the story of Hairspray. I hadn't seen any other version before, but when I wanted to watch Shrek the Musical, I got a free trial to Broadway HD, so I just kind of binge watched a bunch of stuff on there, including Hairspray Live, which was great. Love the music, love the story, love the characters. Great all-star cast here as well. I also watched for the first time Anything Goes, starring Sutton Foster. That was great. Yeah, a lot of fun. Good music as well. Then that same night, I really switched things up and went from two musicals to Brothers, which is one I've been wanting to watch for a while. Obviously, I grew up with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. I love Jake Gyllenhaal. Seeing them as brothers, it just makes sense. They look like they could be brothers. And man, this was a fantastic movie. Basically, Tobey Maguire, he is in the military, and then his brother, Jake Gyllenhaal, is just released from prison. So Toby has to go off to, I think it was Afghanistan, and basically he ends up getting captured, but everybody thinks he's dead. So let's say the brother gets a little close with Toby's wife, and then Toby comes back and deals with a lot of heavy PTSD. It's a very heavy movie, very intense, but so good, so good. I watched for the first time Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. This was a great film, definitely one of the best of 2023 for sure. Roadhouse, the new 2024 remake with Jake Gyllenhaal. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but I did not care for this film. It felt very basic and kind of boring to me. I didn't really care for it. That's why I didn't do a review for it on the channel. Now, speaking of Broadway HD, the last thing I watched on there before my free trial expired was The Woodsman. One of my favorite theatrical productions. This was my second time watched it. I watched it in an acting class a couple years ago. It's just so good. It is basically the origin story of the Tin Man. As you can see here, discover how the Tin Man lost his heart. Going from when he was a real human man to losing each and every limb of his body and being replaced with all these robotic tin parts. It's a really beautiful, really tragic story, but it's so beautifully done because nobody in this show talks. The whole story is told just by movement and sounds and obviously facial expressions. There's some puppetry in play here. There's a beautiful love story. Also, their way of showing time and relationship it's just so beautifully done. I cannot recommend this enough. I watched for the first time Drive because, of course, I'm in my Ryan Gosling era right now. That's literally me. And I will say I didn't love it, but it was all right. There were certain parts I really did like the elevator scene was fantastic, and I think the soundtrack is great, and obviously I love Ryan Gosling, but I think like the violence was a little unnecessarily over the top. Like it was just so gory for like absolutely no reason. Like it was to the point where it felt very unrealistic, and so it was very jarring when it was like, oh, what? This does not feel like the movie I've been watching, but whatever. A Streetcar Named Desire, I watched that. I also watched The Spirit of the Beehive. I watched the recently released short film The Spider Within, a Spider-Verse story. This is great. I love the Spider-Verse films, so getting to see Miles deal with a panic attack and the way that's visualized here through this just such beautiful style of animation was really cool to see. And then I ended off my month with the Titans. I rewatched Godzilla vs. Kong. Don't really love that movie, but I do love Godzilla X Kong, which I just saw in theaters and which I just posted my review for, so please go check it out. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is everything I watched in the month of March 2024. I'm looking forward to April. I will say, though, April is definitely going to be a much slower month because, like I said, March we had like a big blockbuster releasing pretty much well, not pretty much, but actually every weekend. April, we don't really have that. I mean, we've got Monkey Man coming out, and Civil War, and Challengers, and the Shrek 2 re-release, which I do plan on going to see. There's some good stuff coming out in March, but just not really like big blockbusters that are really going to get a whole lot of attention at the box office. But I'll still be going to see them. I'll be doing reviews, all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you watch in the month of March 2024? And what are you looking forward to in April? So thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the movie life.